Hey there, Titanfall legends! My name is Geardude, here today with some rather important news. Respawn Entertainment, the developer of the Titanfall series, has just been announced to be getting purchased by EA for $455 million. Up until this point, Respawn was independently owned, and while they've always worked with EA, they were only the publisher up until now, meaning that they had very little say in terms of actual game content. Not to say that EA's acquisition of Respawn means that Titanfall 3 is going to be drastically changed, but likely some things will be more accessible to EA in terms of making some changes. Vince Zampella, the CEO of Respawn, wrote a letter as well as gave a few FAQs. Let's start by reading the letter. Today, we announced that Respawn will be joining EA. We started Respawn with the goal to create a studio with some of the best talent in the industry and be the #1 developer of innovative games in the world. We've had success as an independent company, but we look to how we want to compete in the future and the challenges that face us in a rapidly changing landscape. Now is the time for us to combine forces with a global industry leader like EA. While it wasn't necessary, going with EA made a lot of sense. With Titanfall and Star Wars, EA has been a great development partner that supports us and doesn't interfere with our process for making games or studio culture. Really quickly going to put a break in here from the letter. Vince does address this here. I just want to say that supposedly Respawn should not be majorly affected in terms of EA changing things. I'm just saying that they've had a history of it. Just wanted to put that in there. Back to the letter. EA will provide us with more resources, access to new technologies, and expertise that we can tap into that will help us make better games, and Respawn will retain the same creative freedom and culture we've always had. We've been talking closely with the leadership at EA, and we share their values and vision for the future of being a developer-focused company that puts the players first. I will still be running things at Respawn and will also be a part of the studio leadership team at EA. There will be no layoffs or major organization changes within Respawn. All games currently in development are continuing as planned. This is a great next step for Respawn, EA, and our players. Joining with EA will give us the resources and support we need to grow and have long-term success while still keeping our culture and creative freedom. We believe this is an opportunity to achieve more together through unique strengths we each bring to the table. You can read the press release of the acquisition here. We are excited about the future and look forward to sharing more of what we're working on. That is the end of the letter. If you would like to read the full press release, it's not long. I've linked it for you in the description. In the press release, the most notable thing to say from it is that it says the acquisition will be finalized before the end of the year. So this is a definite deal. There's no consideration still happening. And I also want to reflect on the letter a little more, as I did kind of interject there, with saying that Vince has made it a point that EA is not going to be enforcing serious changes to the games. Respawn is still supposedly going to have a ton of control over everything they do, but just looking at EA's past and what they've done to some games, that's the only reason I'm mentioning this as a bit of a concern, but this could totally be wrong. I just want to say that I'm not trying to offend anyone at Respawn or EA in the slightest. I personally am somewhat optimistic for this. Some other key things to take from Vince Zampella's letter is that he is still going to be the CEO at Respawn. If you didn't know, he was the one who founded Respawn alongside Jason West, who left Respawn a few years ago. These two guys together also created Infinity Ward and the Call of Duty series, including the titles Call of Duty 1, 2, 4, aka Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare 2. Activision always owned Infinity Ward. After the release of Modern Warfare 2, they fired Vince and Jason, which was followed by a massive lawsuit. But anyways, these two guys, alongside a bunch of Infinity Ward employees at the time, left to create Respawn Entertainment and bring us the Titanfall series so far. And of course, there's some other IPs coming on the way from Respawn, including Star Wars, we know for sure, and a VR game, and I'm sure some other stuff that hasn't been announced yet. So now Vince's development studio is going to be owned by the publisher again. Started with being owned by Activision, that went independent, now going to EA. Not to infer that the same thing will happen as that awful lawsuit and everything involved with that over at Activision. I don't mean that at all. I really don't. But Vince here believes that this is the best step for the development studio to have more resources to bring us better and bigger games. I think Vince Zampella and the games he's been a part of, and at the helm of for the most part, have all been brilliant. Of course, his team plays a major part in this as well. I'll say that I'm cautiously excited and optimistic for this move. I'm not 100% completely for it, as I think you should never really be. I think it's a healthy amount to always be a little concerned about some big changes like this. If you do want to hear some of my personal thoughts a little more explained, I'll be doing a video over on my personal channel, Geardude, later tonight, going into detail with a couple things I want to discuss in terms of this whole situation, but that's not the place for this right now. Let's look at some of the FAQs Vince put together. Question: what is going to happen to Titanfall? Answer: Titanfall is and will remain a major part of our studio's DNA. The Titanfall team is continuing to work on the franchise. So yes, we can expect Titanfall 3, or whatever it's going to be called. There's more Titanfall on the way. Question: what's going to happen with Star Wars? Answer: I don't think I'll be doing this every time, but you get the whole format here. Respawn will continue to work with our Star Wars game. Development is going well, and we have a great relationship with Lucasfilm. How will the merger affect Respawn? There will be no layoffs or major organization changes, and the titles currently in development will continue uninterrupted. Why EA? EA will provide us with more resources, access to new technologies, and expertise in areas that Respawn values for future growth. Respawn will retain the same creative freedom we've always had. We believe in the leadership driving EA's trajectory to exciting areas that match our own goals. This is an opportunity to achieve more together through the unique strengths we each bring to the table. Did you make this decision because the company was in trouble? Not at all. This decision was made because it's the best way to get Respawn the resources, support, and knowledge we need to achieve our long-term goals. What does this mean for the new games beyond Titanfall and Star Wars? We will still have creative freedom to explore new IPs, and will work with EA studio leadership to plan future projects. Does this change Vince's role at Respawn? No. Vince will continue to run Respawn and will also become a part of the studio leadership team at EA. This, everyone, is some very big news. Today's question of the day: what do you think EA purchasing Respawn means for the future of Titanfall and Respawn as a whole, with all their future endeavors as well? Let us know in the comments below, or feel free to answer silently in your head. My name is Geardude, and until next time, stand by for Titanfall.